The certified letter arrived on a Tuesday morning. It smelled faintly of old paper and expensive cologne. I turned it over in my hands, studying the law firm's embossed letterhead before finally tearing it open. My coffee went cold as I read the words 3 times. Each pass made them feel less real. I was inheriting the entirety of the Whispering Pines Ranch estate, comprising approximately 900 acres. My great-uncle Arthur, a man I'd met exactly twice in my life, had left me his entire property in Washington state. 900 acres of pristine wilderness wrapped around a crystal-clear lake, plus the original 1920s lodge. The letter included photos that looked like something from a luxury travel magazine. Towering pines, mirror still water, and mountains in the distance painted purple by the sunset. I was 32, living in a studio apartment in Seattle. Suddenly, I owned more land than I could walk across in a day. But there was always a catch. The property was subject to ongoing legal disputes with the Pinecrest Homeowners Association. The letter explained it in that careful lawyer language that always meant trouble. They recommended I contact their office immediately. 3 weeks later, I stood in the gravel parking area of what was now my property. I was staring at something that shouldn't exist, a mansion. An actual honest-to-God mansion was sitting right on the prime section of lakefront. The photos had shown nothing but meadows and wildflowers. Now there was a sprawling Mediterranean-style monstrosity. It had a terracotta roof, white stucco walls, a 3-car garage, and what appeared to be an infinity pool overlooking Lake Chelan. You must be the nephew. I turned to find a woman in her late 50s striding toward me. Her heels somehow navigated the gravel with aggressive precision. She wore a cream-colored pantsuit that probably cost more than my car. Her blonde hair was shellacked into submission. Everything about her screamed money and the absolute conviction that money made her right. I'm Brenda Sterling, president of the Pinecrest HOA. She didn't offer her hand. I assume you've been informed of the situation where someone built a house on my property. Her smile was sharp enough to cut glass. Your great-uncle's property was always complicated. When he refused to join our community association 5 years ago, he created significant problems for our development plans. We've been trying to resolve this issue through proper legal channels, by building on land you don't own. The property lines in this area are disputed. Our surveyor determined that this section actually falls within the boundaries of Pine Crest. Your uncle refused to accept legitimate survey results. I'm sure you'll be more reasonable. I pulled out my phone and showed her the survey my lawyer had ordered. It was completed just last week by the county's most respected surveyor. This says otherwise. This says your mansion is sitting about 200 feet onto my property. Brenda's smile never wavered, but her eyes went cold. That survey is clearly an error. I've lived here for 15 years. I know every inch of this land. Your uncle was a bitter old man who wanted to prevent progress. Don't make his mistakes. Did he give you permission to build here? We don't need permission to develop our own property, except it's not your property. It's mine. That's what the deed says. That's what the county records say. Listen to me very carefully. I have invested $2.3 million into this home. I have permits from the county, approved architectural plans, and the full support of our HOA board. You're a child playing with documents you don't understand. Take your little inheritance and go back to whatever coffee shop you work at. The assumption that I worked at a coffee shop almost made me laugh. I was a civil engineer. I understood surveys and property boundaries better than most people, but I let it slide. Move off my land. You have 30 days. Her laugh was like ice cracking. Or what? You'll hire some bargain lawyer with your uncle's pension money. Sweetheart, I have Sterling, Vance, and Hughes on retainer. They'll bury you in motions before you can say property dispute. She turned and walked back to her mansion. Her illegal, expensive, absolutely on my property mansion. She left me standing in the gravel, shaking with anger. That night, I called my lawyer. How bad is this? David Park's voice was calm, almost amused. How bad? She built a $2 million mansion on your land without permission. She ignored multiple cease and desist letters sent to your uncle. Now she's claiming the survey is wrong, despite county records going back 80 years. It's bad for her. She says she has Sterling, Vance, and Hughes. He paused. She has my dad's firm. Oh, this just got interesting. I left that firm specifically because of clients like this. Mr. Mitchell, if you're willing to fight, I think we can make this very uncomfortable for Mrs. Sterling. The next 6 months were a masterclass in legal warfare. Brenda had built her mansion through a combination of bullying, bribery, and willful ignorance. The HOA she presided over was a small community of 12 luxury homes. They were perched on the hills above my lake. My great-uncle had refused to sell or join their association. Brenda had simply decided that the property was in dispute and proceeded as if she owned it. The permits she obtained were submitted with a fraudulent survey that accidentally moved the property line 200 feet. The county bureaucrat who approved them was her golf buddy. He retired to Florida the month after the mansion was finished. We've got her on trespassing, fraud, and about 6 different building code violations. But she's not backing down. She filed a countersuit claiming adverse possession. Can she do that? She's only been there 2 years. In Washington state, you need continuous, open, and notorious use to claim adverse possession. She doesn't have it, but she's trying to argue that the HOA's use of the land goes back longer. David sighed. It's garbage, but it'll take time to untangle. Time and money. Brenda burned through legal motions like kindling. Each one required a response, and each response cost me. My great-uncle had left me some money along with the property, but I watched it drain away with terrifying speed. I moved into the old lodge. It was a beautiful but drafty structure that needed serious work. Every morning, I'd wake up and see Brenda's mansion across the meadow. It was a gleaming white middle finger to property rights and common decency. She ramped up her campaign. She filed complaints with the county about the lodge's deteriorating condition. She claimed my presence was disturbing the peace. She organized HOA meetings where they discussed my hostile attitude and refusal to cooperate with community standards. One evening, she showed up at my door with 2 other HOA board members. We're prepared to make you an offer. The HOA will purchase 50 acres along the lake, including the section where my home is located, for fair market value. You keep the rest of your property. Everyone's happy. How much? $75,000. I actually laughed. 50 acres of prime lakefront property for $75,000. You spend more than that on your kitchen. One of the board members, a nervous man named Gary, spoke up. Brenda, maybe we should be quiet, Gary. She turned back to me. That's our final offer. Take it, or we'll make your life here miserable. We control the only access road. We control the county commissioners. We control everything that matters. You don't control the law. I closed the door. The trial finally came 14 months after I'd first seen that mansion. The courtroom in Wenatchee was old-fashioned and imposing, full of dark wood and serious faces. Brenda sat at the defendant's table in a navy suit, radiating confidence. Her legal team was led by David's own father, adding a delicious layer of awkwardness. They had 3 lawyers and a paralegal. I had David's laptop and a flash drive full of evidence. The trial lasted for days. Brenda's team argued survey errors, disputed boundaries, and good faith mistakes. Finally, they desperately claimed that my great-uncle had given verbal permission years ago. David methodically destroyed each argument. He presented the original land grant from 1904. He showed the county records unchanged since 1923. He brought in 3 different surveyors who all confirmed the same property line. He showed photos from my uncle's files. There were photos of Brenda's construction crew setting up equipment. My uncle was clearly visible in the background, holding a sign that said, "Trespassers will be prosecuted." But the killing blow came when David presented her emails. Brenda had been sloppy. In her correspondence with the HOA board, she'd written openly about the disputed land. She detailed her plan to establish possession before the stubborn old man could stop her. She literally discussed building quickly to create facts on the ground that would be expensive to undo. I watched her face go pale as David read her own words back to her. The judge, a no-sense woman in her 60s, took less than an hour to deliver the verdict. This is one of the most brazen cases of property theft I've seen in 30 years on the bench, Mrs. Sterling. You knowingly, willfully, and maliciously built a structure on land you did not own. You did not have permission to use it, and you knew it was subject to clear title held by another party. Your claims of good faith are contradicted by your own written statements. She ordered the mansion removed. It's completely demolished within 90 days. She awarded me damages for legal fees, for the use of my land, and for emotional distress and property devaluation. The total came to over $1 million. Brenda stood frozen as the judge read the verdict. Her lawyers started whispering urgently. Her face went from pale to red to a mottled purple. This isn't over. I'll appeal. I'll fight this all the way to Brenda. Her own lawyer interrupted tiredly. There's nothing to appeal. We lost badly. I watched her walk away. Her heels clicked frantically on the marble floor. Her perfect posture finally crumbled. 3 months later, I stood in that same meadow. I watched the crew demolish the mansion. Brenda had declared bankruptcy rather than pay the judgment. The HOA had fractured. Half the board resigned, and Gary had actually apologized to me personally. Brenda herself had moved to Texas. She left behind nothing but rubble and a cautionary tale. The meadow would recover. I'd see it next spring when the wildflowers returned. Lake Chelan still sparkled in the morning light, completely indifferent to human drama. I pulled out my phone and took a photo. Not of the demolition, but of the view beyond it. Mountains, water, sky, 900 acres of peace. Finally mine in truth, as well as deed. Some inheritances you have to fight for, but damn, they're worth it.